This is the White House, the official residence and workplace of the President of the United States. During his second term in office, President Donald Trump has made some modifications. And of course, not everyone is happy about it.
He's already paved the Rose Garden. Literally, he paved it. That's the Rose Garden, except, oh no, it's a patio at a Panera in a strip mall. He paved the Rose Garden. He took up parts of the White House lawn to put up huge flagpoles so he could fly novelty-size American flags over the White House to make it look like it's an RV dealership that's going out of business.
Wow, Rachel Maddow triggered by the American flag? I know you're shocked. And for the record, President Trump didn't pave over the Rose Garden. He paved over grass. Oh look, not a single rose was touched. And a recent headline from Vogue magazine says it all. They paved paradise? And if you think that's ridiculous, well, you haven't seen anything yet.
The entire east wing of the White House has been demolished, part of President Trump's plan to build a new White House ballroom. The demolition, which began this week without prior public notice, has drawn sharp criticism from preservationists and historians.
He started literally physically tearing down the White House. This is not AI. That is a real thing.
Donald Trump unilaterally and quite irreversibly destroyed an entire wing of the People's House to build a ballroom that he wants.
Trump literally today sent a rental backhoe to physically rip down the east wing of the White House.
It will be almost twice the size of the actual White House, and according to ABC News, he wants to name it after himself. Shocker.
Oh, you mean like calling the Affordable Care Act Obamacare?
A lot of you have been enjoying new benefits and protections that you didn't have before, even if you didn't know they were coming from Obamacare. So they don't like Obamacare in theory. Those are the benefits of Obamacare.
You see where Mrs. Kennedy is walking? All of that is gone.
What? They got rid of a hallway?
The family theater, gone.
No, not the family movie theater.
The Jacqueline Kennedy Garden, gone.
They dug up a garden. Oh, the humanity.
The East Wing, where First Ladies since Eleanor Roosevelt have had offices, gone.
Okay, now you lost me.
The East Wing entrance, where women protested for the 19th Amendment, is gone.
Some people might say that the 19th Amendment was a mistake. Just saying. But then, Caroline Self here plays part of the following video.
Theodore Roosevelt, who also restored the White House, once wrote, "The White House is the property of the nation, and so far as is compatible with living therein, it should be kept as it originally was. It's a good thing to preserve such buildings which keep alive our sense of continuity with the nation's past."
Look, we all know that Democrats in the 21st century don't give a shit about Teddy Roosevelt. Because otherwise, they would have fought against the removal of this Theodore Roosevelt statue that had sat at the entrance of the American Museum of Natural History in New York City for 80 years. Why was it removed? Because of the racial hierarchy it depicted, of course. Regardless, Teddy Roosevelt said that it should be kept as it originally was. Do you think he would have been okay with building movie theaters and bowling alleys and outdoor swimming pools? Yeah. Probably not. On October 25th, just days after the East Wing was demolished, the editorial board of the Washington Post published the following opinion piece in defense of the White House ballroom. In classic Trump fashion, the president is pursuing a reasonable idea in the most jarring manner possible. Preservationists express horror that Trump did not submit his plans to their scrutiny. But the truth is that this project would not have gotten done, certainly not during his term, if the president had gone through the traditional review process. The blueprints would have faced death by 8,000 paper cuts.
No one authorized them to do this. No one gave them permission. It's not the result of, say, as you might expect, an act of Congress. No approval from the group ostensibly in charge of these matters. The head of the National Planning Commission, a guy named Will Scharf, says no approvals necessary. That individual happens to be a Trump appointee who also works in the White House and previously served as Trump's personal attorney. He has decided there will be no oversight on the decision to tear down part of the historic building.
But spoiler alert, President Trump didn't need approval.
You know, one would expect the White House, given its historic importance, its national symbolism, to have extraordinary preservation restrictions. Why doesn't it?
So this goes back to an exemption in the Section 106 process of the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, where the White House, the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Capitol building were marked as exempt. Now, having said that, despite the exemption, previous studies done at the White House with the involvement of the National Park Service note that even though this formal process is not required, the NPS staff strive to adhere to this process to the best extent as possible.
But again, Trump was not lawfully required to go through the National Park Service or get permission from anyone. He can ask for their advice, but he's not required to take it.
Can the president tear down anything he wants without oversight? Could he demolish this building or say the Jefferson Memorial? It sounds like the answer is yes, he can tear down whatever he wants. And then secondly,
that's not what we're saying.
Can the president tear down anything he wants? You don't hate the media enough.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly. And so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority.
And with that came the Democrats' misinformation campaign, claiming that somehow in the middle of the government shutdown, which was completely initiated by Democrats, that President Trump's main priority was building a ballroom.
Of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority.
Oh, God. I mean, I'm stunned that she just said that. I'm stunned that she just said that. The president's main priority is a ballroom, and his main priority is a ballroom. You've got to be kidding me.
And even though fake news CNN quickly came out with a fact check debunking it, the Democrats continued to try and spew their bullshit in an attempt to shift the blame for the shutdown to Trump and the Republicans.
The president has time to do everything but what he needs to focus on. In fact, we heard the press secretary say that his main priority is the ballroom that no one asked for, the ballroom that requires him to destroy historic pieces of the White House. And so it doesn't seem like he's interested.
I want to be very clear. USDA, during this shutdown, has contingency funds that they could release just like us. They are choosing not to. They are choosing not to. And I can paint any damn picture you want for you. They're paying contractors to tear down the East Wing, but they're not putting money into the food bank that they're setting on.
Wait, is he saying that the United States Department of Agriculture is paying for the East Wing demolition?
They are choosing not to fund these programs. They are choosing to prioritize. And when the White House press secretary said the top priority is the ballroom, we could not disagree more.
But in reality, the ballroom construction is being paid for entirely through private donations, which admittedly is a little problematic, but that means that it has nothing to do with funding SNAP benefits, let alone anything in the federal government. But Democrats gonna Democrat. So on one hand, the Democrats are big mad that Trump tore down a hallway and some office space to build a long-needed ballroom for events and state dinners. But at the same time, the Democrats are warming up their sledgehammers. Congressman Eric Fartwell wrote on X, "Don't even think of seeking the Democratic nomination for president unless you pledge to take a wrecking ball to the Trump ballroom on day one." And Joe Walsh, the former Republican congressman and current Democrat grifter, wrote, "I will repeat this every day for the next 3 years. Any Democrat running for president in 2028 must pledge to immediately tear down / bulldoze / demolish Trump's ballroom and fully restore the East Wing." So here's a question, Joe. Who's gonna pay for demolishing the ballroom? And who's gonna pay for building a new East Wing? The American taxpayer? Yeah, he didn't think this through, huh?
Would you agree with that any Democrat who becomes the next president, if and when that were to happen, they should tear down whatever changes Trump makes?
No, I think to really mess with him, just name it the Barack Obama ballroom, and I think that will take care of half the problem.
So Democrats hate that Trump is building a ballroom, But at the same time, they would gladly name it after their Lord and Savior Barack Obama. Do they not know that it would be more of an insult to Obama than Trump? The WAPO editorial board writes, privately, many alumni of the Biden and Obama White Houses acknowledge the long overdue need for an event space like what Trump is creating. It is absurd that tents need to be erected on the South Lawn for state dinners, and VIPs are forced to use porta potties. The state dining room seats 140. The East Room seats about 200. Trump says the ballroom at the center of his 90,000 square foot addition will accommodate 999 guests. The next Democratic president will be happy to have this. But Democrats are so insane that they would demolish a $300 million ballroom out of spite. Here's Democrat strategist and MSDNC contributor Julie Rodzinski.
Look, I think Swalwell is absolutely right that people are beyond angry, and I agree that the ballroom better be torn down.
But then Rodzinski contradicts herself, suggesting that there won't be another Democrat president who will get that chance.
Let's just be real. He's not building that ballroom because he's planning on leaving. He's not going anywhere, and nobody's going to get him out of there. And by the way, the Supreme Court says you can't run again. He will just ignore the courts. Donald Trump is not going anywhere. And I understand that sounds crazy and wacko, but think about all the other crazy, wacko things that this president has done that we could not believe he'd ever do. And you see why he's going to run again in 2028, and he's not going anywhere unless, the ravages of time take him away. He's not leaving that White House.
Oh my God, with the fear-mongering. Trump isn't running again. Anyway, that's it for now. If you want to support the channel, head over to my new merch store at don'twalkrun.shop. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time, if there is a next time.